I was a man who stood in symbolic relations to the art and culture of my age. I had realized this for myself at the very dawn of my manhood, and forced my age to realize it afterwards. I made art a philosophy, and philosophy an art. I altered the minds of men, the colors of things. I treated art as the supreme reality, and life as a mere mode of fiction. I awoke the imagination of my century so that it created myth and legend around me. I summoned up all systems in a phrase, and all existence in an epigram.
What wonderfully blue eyes you have, Ernest. They are quite blue. I hope you will always look at me just like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. 'Tis most indecorous.
Mamma! I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. And besides, Mr. Worthing has not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I am engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Pardon me, you're not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I, or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant, as the case may be. It is hardly a matter that she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now, I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I am making my inquiries, you, Gwendolen, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma?
In the carriage, Gwendolen. Gwendolen, the carriage.
Yes, Mamma.
The Importance of Being Earnest is a beautiful musical study. It loves the English language. I don't know how you can watch it, read it, and not be transformed by its sheer joy.
The Importance of Being Earnest is a mystery because almost nothing in art, and even less in theatre, is perfect. I don't think there's a single play of Shakespeare's that's perfect. But The Importance of Being Earnest is perfect.
Now to minor details. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth.
I'm afraid I really don't know, Lady Bracknell. You see, I said I had lost both my parents. Nearer to the truth to say that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was, well, I was found.
Found?
Yes, the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex.
And where did this charitable gentleman who had a first-class ticket for a seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. It was a handbag, a large black leather handbag with handles. It was just an ordinary handbag.
And in what locality did this Mr. Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
At the cloakroom in Victoria Station. He was given it in mistake for his own.
Cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial, Mr. Worthing. You cannot imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
I first really became aware of Wilde's genius in a very strange way. I was reading The Importance of Being Earnest and finding it hilarious, but I inevitably associated with something dark because that was the day of Bloody Sunday. And here I was in Dublin as an 18-year-old, laughing my head off, and bit by bit the news was coming through about this massacre in Derry, 14 miles from my home place. And for that reason, I have always found, especially The Importance of Being Earnest, a very shadowy and haunted text.
a week after the opening of The Importance of Being Earnest, Wilde then ended up in the dock himself and was sent to prison, created such a dramatic narrative that it has come to dominate our understanding of Wilde's life.
Many aristocratic and better-born English homosexuals could have been brought to trial in the way Wilde was, but Wilde was the one to make an example of because he was Irish and because he was a poet and he wasn't really a proper gentleman.
He was always aware he was an outsider as an Irishman, so there was always an edge. His is an extravagant Celtic campaign against Anglo-Saxon stupidity. And then he out-talks them, and he runs rings about them there, and he poses as an aristocrat.
You have to remember what Yeats said about him, that to Wilde, the nobles and the aristocracy of the English were as exotic as the caliphs of Baghdad. And he had that tongue-out fascination for the English aristocracy.
To appear to be on the inside of society and yet to sit on the outside of society as an observer and to tease society from the outside, which of course is what he is doing in many of the plays, is something which is very typical Oscar.
Got my second buttonhole for me, Phipps?
Yes, my lord.
Rather distinguished thing, Phipps. I'm the only person of the smallest importance in London at present who wears a buttonhole.
Yes, my lord, I have observed that.
You see, Phipps, fashion is what one wears oneself. What is unfashionable is what other people wear.
Yes, my lord.
Just as vulgarity is simply the conduct of other people.
Yes, my lord.
And falsehoods the truths of other people.
Yes, my lord.
Other people are quite dreadful. The only possible society is oneself.
Yes, my lord.
To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance, Phipps.
Yes, my lord.
I think I quite like this buttonhole, Phipps. Makes me look a little too old. Makes me almost in the prime of life, eh, Phipps?
I don't observe any alteration in your lordship's appearance.
You don't, Phipps?
No, my lord.
I'm not quite sure. For the future, a more trivial buttonhole, Phipps, on Thursday evenings.
I will speak to the florist. My lord, she has had a loss in her family lately, which perhaps accounts for the lack of triviality your lordship complains of in the buttonhole.
Extraordinary thing about the lower classes in England. They're always losing their relations.
Yes, my lord. They are extremely fortunate in that respect.
Oscar Wilde could actually be like the people he was with. He did what great charmers always do. He looks at you, absorbs you, and plays you back to yourself. He understood the importance of the mirror. And his brilliance as a charmer was that he charmed society.
Oscar, as a student, in one case, he's asked, what is your aim in life? To which he replies, success, fame, or even notoriety. Well, when Oscar leaves Oxford and comes down to London in 1876, he's come to London determined that he is going to make his mark. I suppose in modern terms we'd say he networked his way around London. Through Frank Miles, his artist friend with whom he shared lodgings.
He is essentially a hanger-on among celebrities, people who are the human wallpaper against which the stars shine more brightly. That was Wilde at that point. He's C-list, D-list, and he's dreaming of becoming A-list.
We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
Through Frank Miles, his artist friend, he met Lily Langtry, who, of course, by that stage had become Prince of Wales's mistress. And from there, it was a short step into the best society possible.
They instantly bonded, Oscar and Lily, because they were both outsiders and they were both very ambitious. They were determined to make their way in London. She was incredibly beautiful and she became an instant celebrity. Her picture was hanging on the wall of every house in London almost. And it was Oscar who suggested that she become an actress. He knew that if he wanted to become a playwright and if he could encourage her to act in one of his plays, well, then he almost had a guaranteed success.
Oscar's first foray into playwriting is a play called Vera or the Nihilists. It's a play about Russian revolutionaries, which most people have not read and have not heard of. There's a reason for that. It's not terribly good, and all of this means that any actress won't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
There is only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about.
He had his wit and his humour, but he had an enthusiasm for things. Everybody who met him remarked on his extraordinary positive energy. When Wilde came to London, he really found that aestheticism was a growing part of London social life. He loved talking about it with other people. His enthusiasm about aestheticism was something that people noted and engaged with.
It was the idea that you should look at art for its own sake, because it was beautiful. It didn't need to teach you anything else except that it was beautiful, and that was enough. Wilde emerges as the potential leader of this movement. The thing is, Wilde hasn't really done very much at this point, and so he becomes a figure of fun. The satire of an aesthete is a flippity-floppity young man. It's someone who is ridiculous because he thinks art matters. And so this is why Punch magazine thinks it's prerogative to satirize this would-be leader.
Wilde realised humour was an incredibly powerful tool in promoting an idea and making it interesting and exciting. Wilde, I think, was brave enough to embrace the idea of the parody.
Gilbert and Sullivan, the most successful popular composers and lyricists of the day, they decide that their next show will be a satire on the cult of these aesthetic young men. Here is this character in the operetta called Bunthorne, who walks down Piccadilly with a poppy or a lily in his ornamental hand, and Oscar says, "Oh, that's me." Well, Gilbert and Sullivan don't say, "That's you, Oscar." He says, "That's me."
If you're anxious for to shine in the high aesthetic line as a man of culture rare, you must get up all the germs of the transcendental terms and plant them everywhere. You must lie upon the daisies and score some novel phrases of your complicated state of mind. The meaning doesn't matter if it's only idle chatter of a transcendental kind. And everyone will say, as you walk your mystic way, if this young man expresses himself in terms too deep for me, why, what a singularly very deep young man this deep young man must be.
On the back of that operetta, Wilde gets an invitation from a theatre impresario called Richard Doyley Carte. And this invitation is to come and lecture in America, to in a sense be a forerunner for Patience. He's 27, his play Vera has just failed, and so he boards a steamer, wraps himself up in a fur coat, and he's off on this adventure to America.
I have nothing to declare except for my genius.
The American lecture tour was in fact the making of him. It brought him in contact with American showmen who showed him how to become a success.
When he was in America, Oscar Wilde, yes, he went to see the great poet Walt Whitman, but he also went to see the great showman P.T. Barnum, the man who created Barnum and Bailey's Circus. And he went to see Jumbo the elephant. Oscar Wilde used to like to say that to succeed in life, you've got to have a name with just 5 letters in it, like Oscar, or Wilde, or Jesus, or Plato, or Jumbo.
He was taught how to speak, he was taught how to dress, he was photographed by the celebrity photographer of the day, Napoleon Cerrone, and the result of that is a real before and after. It's a fairy tale. He's transformed. He's wearing a cape. He's wearing this hat. He's a star. He's ready for his close-up. There were women who adored him, who hounded Oscar and would chase him to his hotel door, hoping to have some sort of contact with him. And it plays on this curious idea of him as a kind of womanizer. And that's not the idea we have of Wilde today as a gay man. Certainly earlier in his career, he was appealing to women.
When Oscar comes back from America, he picks up with a girl, a young woman, who he's known before, called Constance Lloyd. And she's, although I say it myself, she was my own grandmother, she was very attractive. He describes her to Lily Langtry as a violet-eyed little Artemis. People have tried to make out that his romance with Constance was a smokescreen to conceal his own homosexuality, and so on and so on. I have no doubt in my mind, and this is not just family speaking, that he was in love with her. It was always said in the family that the wedding ring, which Constance wore, was designed by Oscar, and it was two bands which separated and were interconnected. But when you twisted them and put them together, they formed a single band, which was rather a lovely idea. And that ring is one of the rare things which we still do have in the family.
They made a very, very striking couple. They often sort of dressed in complementary garb. And they created this very, very striking house at Tite Street, the House Beautiful, as it was called. But it was so splendid that it was really rather beyond their means.
Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination.
What we, I think, forget about Wilde is that he was a professional writer. He wrote as a journalist because he had to. He had to earn a living. So he was often writing as a hack. He was having to write what he was commissioned to write. I think he liked playing with different genres and forms, and it enabled him to do lots of things that he couldn't do if he'd stuck to just the one thing. By the time the 1880s, when Wilde's really beginning his writing career comes around, you've got lots and lots of different types of fiction being produced. They are relatively lucrative. There are genres that become extremely popular during the 19th century. The ghost story, the romance, the adventure story.
He returned from the States with an idea of the Canterville ghost, wonderfully humorous take on the ghost story, transforming the established trope of people being frightened by the ghost. Here, the ghost was frightened by the people it was trying to haunt. A family of remarkably Philistine and practical Americans who'd rented an English country house for the summer.
My dear sir, if you insist on these infernal hauntings, then I really must insist on you oiling those chains. I have brought some Tammany Rising Sun lubricator for precisely that purpose. It's completely efficacious. One application should suffice. Would you like me to? As you wish. Then I shall leave it there and bid you adieu.
In a brilliant and uninterrupted career of 3 centuries have I ever been so grossly insulted. Do these Americans know nothing of my reputation? Of the butler who shot himself just because he had seen my green hand tapping on his window pane? Or Lady Stutfield, who wore a black velvet band round her throat to hide the mark of my 5 fingers burned into her lily-white skin, and who drowned herself in the carp pond.
The ghost himself is clearly drawing his entire repertoire of how you do haunting from reading ghost stories. And the ghost is forced into increasingly desperate measures. You end up in this kind of very strange fantasy world.
I am sorry for you. My brothers return to school tomorrow, so if you behave yourself, no one should annoy you.
How can I possibly behave myself? Haunting is my only reason for existence.
It is no reason at all for existence. You've been very wicked. The housekeeper told us you killed your wife.
I quite admit it, but it was a family matter and concerned no one else.
Well, I don't think that was very nice of you. It's wrong to kill anyone.
Well, I don't think it was very nice of her brothers to starve me to death.
Starve you to death? Oh, I see. I could get you a sandwich. Would you like that?
No, thank you. But it is kind of you. You are much nicer than the rest of your rude and horrid family.
Stop! If anyone is rude and hard, it is you. The best thing for you would be to emigrate. In New York, you're sure to be a great success. The people there would give thousands to have a grandfather, let alone a family ghost.
Emigrate? The very idea is absurd.
You are a most spoiled and stubborn spirit. There's nothing to be done for you. And so good night.
Please don't go, Miss Virginia. You must come with me.
Oscar had been telling stories, really, from almost the moment he came to London. And there'd been all sorts of different tales, sort of fables, humorous stories, tales with a twist. Fairy stories had a special place for him.
He was also interested in fairy stories because he was a father. He begins writing fairy stories for his own children. I think it's rather lovely, actually, that somebody sets out to write for his own children.
He enjoyed hugely the oral performance of telling tales and seeing an excited audience all around him. I mean, even an audience of one or two. And I think he was surprised, perhaps, at how difficult it was to get those stories into print. He wrote up the Happy Prince and sent it off to various editors, and really it languished in their editorial drawers for long periods of time.
No man has any real success in this world unless he has got women to back him, and women rule society.
He was then offered a job as the editor of a periodical which wasn't doing terribly well, called The Ladies' World. And that for him, A, was going to bring in a source of income, but B, he realized that if the name was changed, and this goes back to Oscar's relationships with women, if the name was changed to The Woman's World, it would have much more of an impact. He wanted it to be a periodical about what women felt and what they thought.
One friend of the family says that London society took Oscar Wilde seriously after he started editing The Woman's World. In a sense, he grew up, he developed a sense of fairness. He realised the extent of inequality in British society at the time, I think, through exposure to the kind of campaigns that his contributors were leading and were writing about. He believed that it was dreadful that women were held to a different standard of rules than men, because he firmly believed that nobody should be held to any account at all. There should be no rules. He believed everybody should be allowed to do exactly what they wanted to.
It may be at around that time that this young man comes into his life, Robert Ross, and comes to stay with the Wildes as a paying guest, and by all accounts becomes Oscar's first male lover.
He probably would have seen it as something that he could have kept as a parallel life, as a secret life, something he could have indulged in while keeping the sanctity of his marriage, in the same way as many men had affairs with women. And in fact, many men at the time had affairs with men.
And it was around the end of his editorship of The Woman's World that he wrote his groundbreaking essay, The Decay of Lying. And, I mean, just the title itself was calculated to get up the collective Victorian nose. I think Oscar's essays have been neglected. They combine everything one thinks of Oscar. They combine the serious, treated frivolously, the frivolous, treated seriously. They combine humour and they combine philosophy.
I've written an article, Cyril.
That is hardly consistent with your indolent nature, I would have thought.
Who wants to be consistent? Besides, my article is really a most salutary warning.
What is the subject?
I intend to call it The Decay of Lying. A protest.
Lying? I should have thought our politicians kept up that habit.
I assure you they do not. They never rise beyond the level of misrepresentation. Compare that with the temper of the true liar, with his healthy disdain of proof of any kind. The politicians won't do it. It's the same with lawyers. Even newspapers have degenerated. Besides, what I'm talking about is lying in art. It's different. The decay of imagination. Bad art comes from realism, from elevating life and nature into ideals. Shall I read you what I have written? It might do you a great deal of good.
Certainly, if you would give me a cigarette.
The decay of lying became really a key turning point for Wilde, because it gave that first sense of his own voice carried directly towards an audience, in a novel form, in dialogue. And of course, conversation allowed him to really reproduce the rhythms, the cadences, and the forms of his own talk. It was totally original, it was totally compelling, it was very amusing and very, very clever, and really, defined the essence of Wilde's performance as an artist.
Another cigarette, please. I should like to ask you a question. I can understand your objection to art being treated as a mirror, but you don't mean to say you seriously believe that life is the mirror and art the reality?
Certainly I do. Paradox though it may seem, it's nonetheless true that life imitates art far more than art imitates life. An example, philosophers analyze the pessimism of modern thought, but Hamlet invented it. So the world has become sad because a puppet was once melancholy.
The theory is certainly a curious one, but to make it complete, you must show that nature, no less than life, is an imitation of art. Can you prove that? Nature follows the landscape painter, does she?
Certainly. Where, if not from the Impressionists, do we get our wonderful silver mists? See, people see fogs not because there are fogs, but because painters taught them the loveliness of their effects.
The marvellous irony, he, as it were, he declares this manifesto on how life should imitate art, and then, lo and behold, he's commissioned by an American publisher to write a novel and for his magazine, and so out comes a picture of Dorian Gray.
Oscar Wilde was invited to a dinner given by an American publisher called Stoddart, who came to London looking for murder mysteries for his magazine, Lippincott's magazine. And he invited two young writers to have dinner with him at the Langham Hotel in Portland Place, Arthur Conan Doyle and Oscar Wilde. And as a result of this dinner, Conan Doyle was persuaded to write the second Sherlock Holmes story. There might never have been any more Sherlock Holmes. And Oscar Wilde was persuaded to write The Picture of Dorian Gray.
The story of Dorian Gray is, on one level, a myth, and it's very simple. A beautiful young man being painted by a friend, Basil Hallward, is being watched by Basil's guest, Lord Hutton.
Stay still, Dorian. Pay no heed to what Lord Henry tells you. He's a bad influence on all his friends.
Is that really true, Lord Henry? Why? Well, to be influenced, a person has to give up one's soul. His virtues, then, are no longer real. His sins are borrowed.
Ignore him. Don't allow yourself to be tempted, Dorian. Turn your head a little towards me.
The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. Resist, and your soul grows sick with longing. Have you felt that, Mr. Gray? Have you had passions that have made you afraid, or Dreams whose mere memory might stain your cheek with shame.
Oh, stop. I don't know what to say. Let me think. Or rather, let me try not to think.
The picture of Dorian Gray is founded on one of the oldest myths, goes right back to the Greeks, of a young and beautiful person who wishes that they will remain young forever.
We are actually literally seeing life being turned into art. And that art is going to exercise a fatal fascination on the protagonists of this story.
Don't frown. You have youth and beauty. And beauty is a form of genius, is higher indeed than genius, as it needs no explanation. It is simply a fact of the world, like sunlight. The gods have been good to you, Dorian. But what the gods give, they quickly take away.
I'm tired of posing. It's stifling.
Do you like it? Of course he likes it. Who wouldn't like it?
How sad it is. I shall grow old and horrible, but the picture will remain young. It will never be older than this day in June. If only it were the other way. I would give myself for that.
I should object very strongly.
I believe you would. You like your art better than your friends. I'm jealous of the portrait you painted.
This is your doing, Harry.
It is the real Dorian Gray. That is all.
So after that first fatal scene, Dorian has been living what can only be described as a life of pleasure. But it's a life of pleasure that's definitely tinged with sordidness.
And this is a classic Wildean inversion. There's Dorian Gray, who realises that all his sins are written in that painting and that he has kept this fantastic facade, this beauty, and no one knows how deeply, profoundly wicked he has been in his life.
It's Gothic in the sense that it gives us a supernatural feel and atmosphere to it. It's Gothic in the sense that it takes us into criminal underworlds. So we're looking at the split personality, the duality of human beings. It's something that Stevenson does in Jekyll and Hyde. Wilde definitely picks this up, this idea that Dorian is a double figure, a two-faced figure, if you like. And Basil, being a moral, decent artist, is horrified by the monster he thinks he might have helped to create.
I want to speak to you seriously, Dorian. Don't frown like that.
I hope it's not about myself. I'm so tired of myself tonight.
It is entirely for your own sake that I've come. The most dreadful things are being said against you. I can't believe them when I see you. Sin is a thing that writes itself across a man's face. It cannot be concealed. Yet I see you so seldomly these days, Dorian.
Dear Basil, don't let this concern you.
Why is it that a man like the Duke of Berwick leaves the room of a club when you enter it?
Because I know everything about his life, not because he knows anything about mine. You forget, we are in the native land of the hypocrite.
One has the right to judge a man by the effect he has over his friends. Yours seem to lose all sense of goodness. You have led them down into the depths.
Take care, Basil. You go too far.
No, I must speak, and you must listen. They say you corrupt anyone you become intimate with. You only need to enter a house for shame of some kind to follow.
And you really believe in such a thing?
Before I could answer that, I should have to see into your soul.
See my soul?
Indeed. You shall see it, Basil. Why shouldn't you? It is your own handiwork, after all. Come with me.
want answers to all your questions, Basil. Well, I am delighted. You are the one man in the world who is entitled to know everything about me.
A hideous face was grinning at him. But the horror, whatever it was, had not yet entirely spoiled the beauty.
I can't believe it is my picture.
Can't you see your ideal in it?
There was nothing evil in it, nothing.
Each of us has heaven and hell in him, Basil. It is the face of my soul.
If that is true, Dorian, and this is what you have done with your life, join me, Dorian. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
It caused a storm of protest in the press. People picked up on the homosexual subtext, the relationship between Basil, the painter, and Dorian.
It, without doubt, was the talked-about literary event of that season. It polarised opinion. It was the first time Wilde had really had a sensational success.
I believe that they said Dorian Gray was poisonous. It is poisonous, if you like. But you cannot deny that it is also perfect. And perfection is what we artists aim at. I'm quite incapable of understanding how any work of art can be criticized from a moral standpoint. I wrote this book entirely for my own pleasure, and it gave me great pleasure to write it. The book contains much of me in it. Basil Hallward is what I think I am. Lord Henry, what the world thinks of me. Dorian, what I'd like to be. In other ages, perhaps.
I suppose that Oscar's own Dorian Gray was just waiting to happen. And it's a year later, in 1891, when the book version comes out, that he meets Lord Alfred Douglas.
Lord Alfred Douglas was then a young undergraduate at Magdalen College, Oxford, Wilde's old college, and he read the book version of Dorian Gray and was completely swept up by it and bowled over by it, and read it through, a dozen times or whatever, and didn't lose the opportunity to go and visit Wilde.
Constance was very tolerant of the fact that there were young men hanging around all the time because she saw them as his protégés. They were these adoring young disciples he had, and she found this quite amusing, in fact.
There an explosion went off. Something happened. Something happened that was certainly liberating sexually, and to some extent liberating artistically.
All the world's a stage, but the play is badly cast.
One of the people who'd been greatly impressed by Dorian Gray was the young theatre producer, actor-manager, George Alexander. He approached Wilde with the idea that he should write a modern drama.
I think that he found a form, the social comedy, and he filled it with his own personality. And his own personality was part Dowager Duchess, part romantic young man, part angry feminist, part crusty old gent, and he could hear how those people spoke, and he could invest in those characters parts of himself.
Lady Windermere's Fan is the first of the society comedies. It's set on the evening of Lady Windermere's coming-of-age ball. She's very much in love with her husband, who has given her a beautiful jewelled fan for her birthday. But a bad rumour has come to her ears that her husband is embarking on an affair with a mysterious woman called Mrs. Erlynne.
Mrs. Erlynne.
We also get the sense that there's just a little bit more to Mrs. Erlynne than meets the eye.
You have dropped your fan, Lady Windermere.
It was terribly rash of you to come.
It's the wisest thing I ever did in my life. And by the way, you must pay me a good deal of attention this evening. I'm afraid of the women. You must introduce me to some of them. The men I can always manage. Dear Lord Augustus, you've quite neglected me lately. I haven't seen you since yesterday. I'm afraid you're faithless. Everybody told me so.
Now, really, Mrs. Erlyn, allow me to explain.
No, my dear Lord Augustus, you can't explain anything. It is your chief charm. Do you know, I think I will dance with you first tonight, Windermere. It will make Lord Augustus so jealous.
Her coming here is unbearable. I feel that every woman here sneers at me as she dances by with my husband. What have I done to deserve this? I'm degraded in my own eyes. And I lack courage. I'm a coward. Lord Darlington, tell me, what am I to do? Be my friend now.
Between men and women, there is no friendship possible. I love you. You are more to me than anything in the world. I offer you my life.
Lord Darlington.
Leave this house tonight. There are moments when one has to choose between living one's own life freely or dragging out some false existence that the world in its hypocrisy demands. You have that moment now. Choose.
I have not the courage. I cannot answer you now.
Tomorrow I leave England. It must be now or not at all.
Then not at all.
You break my heart. Goodbye, Mark.
I think Oscar had a really peculiarly accurate sense of social peril and social danger and an identity that is part private but also part public and created by society, which is upper class society in the 1890s. Nowadays, people go and see those plays and they know exactly what society is. It's Twitter and it's social media and it's all of the various ways in which we enact a public identity. Oscar had a very, very acute and precise sense of the danger of that, of living on a precipice.
How charming your sweet wife looks.
Tonight, a man who loved me offered me his whole life. I refused it. It was foolish of me. I will go to him now. Oswald has never understood me. When he reads this, he will.
The same words that 20 years ago I wrote to her father. And she was just a baby. And how bitterly I have been punished for it. Life does not repeat its tragedies.
He talked about this play and he said what interested him was the idea of a woman who had a child but had no maternal instinct whatsoever, who abandoned that child but who came back into her life later on to save her from herself. Oscar chose the plot with Lily Langtry in mind. Now, Lily had a daughter from a very secret relationship. She had hidden that daughter away. This was a secret that she had worked very hard to keep. And here was Oscar about to put it on the West End stage, with her acting the part. Now, Lily felt quite affronted by Oscar writing this part.
Mrs. Erlyn, realising what she's done, runs to Lord Darlington's to try and save Lady Windermere. Lady Windermere's birthday fan is found in Lord Darlington's rooms. It is a very compromising situation. But instead of letting Lady Windermere take the rap, Mrs. Erlyn saves Lady Windermere's reputation.
How do you do, Lady Windermere? How do you do? Lady Windermere, I am so sorry about your fan. I have no idea how I made such a silly mistake as to take it. Most stupid of me. I thought I would take the opportunity of returning your property to you in person, with many apologies for my carelessness, and of bidding you goodbye.
Goodbye? Are you going away then, Mrs. Allen?
Yes, I'm going to live abroad again. The English climate doesn't suit me. I find my heart is affected here, and that I don't like. And so I'm leaving this afternoon by the club train.
This afternoon? But I wanted so much to come and see you.
You are very kind, but I'm afraid I must go.
Shall I never see you again, Mrs. Allen?
I'm afraid not. Our lives lie too far apart. But there is a little something I would like you to do for me. I want a photograph of you, Lady Windermere. Would you give me one?
Oh, with pleasure. I have one over there. I'll get it for you.
Oh, but haven't you got one of yourself with your little boy?
Would you prefer one of those?
Yes.
I'll get it. I have one upstairs.
You seem rather out of temper this morning, Lord Windermere. I don't know why you should be. Margaret and I are getting on charmingly together.
I can't bear to see you with her. You've no right to claim her as your daughter. You abandoned her for your lover when she was but a child in the cradle. What do you mean by coming here this morning?
To say goodbye to my dear daughter, of course. Oh, don't imagine I'll make some pathetic scene, weep on her neck, tell her who I am, all that kind of thing. I have no ambition to play the part of a mother. For 20 years I have lived childless. I want to live childless still. And besides, Lord Windermere, how on earth could I pose as the mother of a grown-up daughter? Margaret is 21, and I have never admitted to being more than 29. 30 at most. 29 when there are pink shades, 30 when there are not. So you see what difficulties that will cause.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Allen. At last I discovered it in my husband's dressing room. He had stolen it.
Oh, I'm not surprised. It is charming. And so this is your little boy. What's he called?
Gerard, after my dear father.
Really?
If it had been a girl, I would have named it after my mother. My mother had the same name as myself, Margaret.
My name is Margaret too.
Indeed.
Wilde is a playwright of the highest order. The comedies are so perfect in their pitch. They are so wonderful in their disguise of what they're about. They are hiding everything from each other. Mother doesn't admit to daughter she's mother. Daughter doesn't admit to mother she knows she's her mother. But as it plays out, you become aware that actually they do know. They know perfectly. And it's in not telling that the power lies.
The success of Lady Windermere's Fan was something wonderful for Wilde. It brought him money, really, for the first time in his life. He was earning large sums, I mean, the modern equivalent of, tens of thousands of pounds a week. But in the midst of that sort of bright new dawn, he was approached again by Lord Alfred Douglas.
During the summer of 1892, he took a holiday with Constance and Cromer in Norfolk, and Lord Alfred Douglas arrived during their holiday to stay with them, and Constance seemed perfectly happy with this.
I mean, when Constance has to take the children back to London to send them off to school, Bosie stays on with him. And really he becomes a third figure in the marriage.
In married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
It's fair to say that Alfred Douglas brought out in Oscar the gourmand, he brought out the sensualist. They spent their money rapidly on the pleasures of the flesh, on the pleasures of the mind. They give themselves over to this derangement of the senses, and they loved it.
He'd been attracted by youth itself, I think, as he'd grown into his 30s, but he suddenly felt it connecting with his own world, both sexually, emotionally, and artistically.
Nobody who knows about Oscar Wilde immediately thinks, oh, let's go to biblical Judea. We think of him as a London playwright. But Salome is set in the time of Christ and Herod. What Wilde writes is a play that is motivated by multiple forms of sexual desire, almost none of which is an appropriate form of sexual desire. So what you find is that there's a king who's in love with his stepdaughter, Salome. He's married his brother's wife. That's incest according to biblical and canon law. So it's not just that it's about sexual desire, it's Salome's desire that motivates this story. It's not a man's desire for once, it's a woman's. And her desire for Yochanan, John the Baptist in the narrative, is what precipitates the tragedy. And I love Salome because although it's a tragedy, it's a terribly sad story in all kinds of ways. When Herod and Herodias are on the stage, they are very funny. Herod with his overwrought emotion and his wife actually henpecking him.
Where is Salome? Ah, there she is.
You must not look at her. You are always looking at her.
The moon has a strange look tonight, has she not? She's like a mad woman seeking lovers. She is naked too, huh? Quite naked.
No. The moon is like the moon, that is all. Let us go.
Never have I seen her so pale.
I told you not to look at her.
Salome, come and sit next to me. I shall give thee thy mother's throne.
I am not tired, Tetrarch.
You see what she thinks of you?
I think the censor understood that there was something potentially blasphemous about what Wilde was doing with those characters. So it was banned.
Dance for me, Salome, I beseech you. If you dance for me, you may ask of me what you will, and I will give it you.
Will you indeed give me whatsoever I shall ask, Tetrarch?
Even half my kingdom.
You swear it, Tetrarch?
I swear it, Salome.
I will not have her dance.
I will dance for you, Tetrarch. I ask of you the head of Yochanan.
Do not ask me that.
That is well said, my daughter.
Do not listen to your mother. Do not heed her.
I do not heed my mother. It is for mine own pleasure. You have sworn, Herod. Forget not that you have sworn an oath.
Salome was an excursion into something which was quite different. He says at one point, when asked why he wrote it, he says that he had at his command a musical instrument, which was the English language. He also had a fair command of another language, which was French, and he wanted to see if he could make something beautiful out of that as well. So he wrote Salome in French. It was translated by Alfred Douglas. Oscar would have been perfectly capable of putting Salome into English himself. I think he gave it to Bosie as a job to do to keep him out of trouble.
Bosie had really, by 1892, begun to explore the world of commercial sex in London, the young rent boys and male prostitutes that could be picked up in the bars and skating rinks of central London. And he really infused Wilde with the excitements of this previously unknown and unexplored world.
Tired of being on the heights, I deliberately went to the depths in the search for new sensations. People thought it dreadful of me to have entertained at dinner the evil things of life, but from the point of view through which I, as an artist in life, viewed them, they were delightfully suggestive and stimulating. It was like feasting with panthers. The danger was half the excitement. They were intensely interesting. I grew careless of the lives of others.
This reckless pursuit of pleasure coarsened his relationships, certainly with Constance. I mean, when she returned from her foreign travels, Wilde was installed in a hotel in the West End. He didn't return home to greet her when she came to find him and plead with him, really, to come home. He pretended he'd been away so long that he'd forgotten his own address. He thought it was a joke, but I mean, she left the room in tears.
I can resist everything except temptation.
When Wilde got money, he did become overbearing. He started insulting people. He's annoyed by Constance asking him about bills. He stays in hotels for his affairs with these boys and with Bosie. The money allowed him to indulge his perverse appetites. He grew fat. He ate. Nobody talks about this, but suddenly Wilde is obese. By 1893, his friends are disgusted. This slim man who wanted to look young is bursting out of his shirt buttons. In cartoons, he's called the fat boy. And he was always testing the limits of his behavior. The effect of success on Wilde was corrupting. He parodies it in society, of people who are double speaking and double thinking, but he had it himself too, in the way he both courted and despised British society. He understands power in society in a way few writers do.
I think he thought with Woman of No Importance, this one's for me. I'm going to really get my stuff out. And that's what I love about it, its personality and its fierce rhetoric and its fierce, invisible barrier between the author and the work. The author's all over it. And he said stuff about the aristocracy that in big part of him just loathed, just hated, with the blind, raging passion of the Republican Irishman. Lord Illingworth is a genuine villain, is a genuine cad, and he's a representative of a class that's sort of morally defunct.
Lord Illingworth, a powerful, well-connected man, has come down to a country house, a party in the countryside, with a view to offering a young man a post as his secretary.
Lord Illingworth, everyone has been congratulating me.
You will be the patent secretary, Gerald.
You enjoy country life, Miss Worsley?
Very much indeed.
Don't find yourself longing for a London dinner party?
I dislike London dinner parties.
I adore them. The clever people never listen and the stupid people never talk.
I think the stupid people talk a great deal.
I never listen.
Charming fellow, Gerald Arbuthnot.
He is very nice indeed. But I can't stand the American young lady.
Really? Why?
She told me yesterday, and in quite a loud voice too, that she was only 18. It was most annoying.
But she is decidedly pretty.
Far too pretty. These American girls carry off all the good matches. Why can't they stay in their own country? They're always telling us it is the paradise of women.
I admire her immensely.
She is a Puritan, besides.
Do you know, I don't believe in the existence of Puritan women.
You think there is no woman in the world who would object to being kissed?
Very few.
Miss Worsley would not let you kiss her.
Are you sure?
Quite. What would you do if she struck you across the face with her glove?
Fall in love with her, probably.
Then it is lucky you are not going to kiss her.
Is that a challenge?
It is an arrow shot into the air.
How tantalizing you are.
I think if there's anything I've tried to get from Oscar, it showed me that language could do things that music could do and paint could do. It could sing, it could bounce inside your head and make remarkable shapes. He was really, despite these marvelous things he projected and that he understood and could speak about, he was a serious writer, and that's where he comes alive.
Wilde has become, for me anyway, my guiding light. I find him defiant when he needs to be defiant. I find him sacred when he needs to be sacred. I find him hysterically funny when he needs to be. But I also find him a very, very threatening presence. What is Wilde's major theme? It would have to be cruelty. He has an obsession with doing the dirty, with people who have suffered from being cruelly treated at the hands of others.
So towards the end of the play, we discover that Mrs. Arbuthnot, Gerald's mother, was ruined, seduced in her youth, and bore an illegitimate child. That illegitimate child is Gerald, and now we discover that the father was Lord Illingworth.
Last night was excessively unfortunate. What harm is there in a kiss?
A kiss may ruin a human life.
Well, we won't discuss that at present. What is of importance today, as yesterday, is still our son. Now, what I propose is this.
I beg you to leave us.
The boy will be with you for 6 months in the year and with me for the other 6. That is perfectly fair, is it not? You may have whatever allowance you like. As for your past, no one knows anything about it except myself and Gerald. And you need not be afraid that Gerald won't be my heir. I have not the slightest intention of marrying.
You've come too late. You are not necessary to Gerald's career. He does not require you.
I do not understand you, Rachel.
Look into the garden. They love each other. We're leaving for America.
I want my son. Bring us together, Rachel. You can do it if you choose.
He's not interested in you.
To get my son back, I am ready to marry you, Rachel. And to treat you always with the deference and respect due to my wife. I give you my word of honor.
You made that promise to me once before, long ago, and broke it.
I will keep it now. And that will show you that I love my son at least as much as you love him. For when I marry you, Rachel, there are some ambitions I shall have to surrender.
I decline to marry you, Lord Illingworth.
Do tell me your reasons. That would interest me enormously.
I've already explained them to my son.
And does my son hate me as much as you do?
He merely despises you.
What a pity. What a pity for him, I mean.
Do not be deceived, George. Children begin by loving their parents. After a time, they judge them. Rarely, if ever, do they forgive them.
May I ask by what arguments you made the boy believe that you should not marry his father? The father of your own child?
It was not I who made him see it. It was his Puritan, Lord Illingworth.
There is not much, then, for me to do here, Rachel.
Nothing.
How curious. At this moment, you look exactly as you looked the night you left me 20 years ago. You have just the same expression in your mouth. Upon my word, Rachel, no woman ever loved me as you did. You were the most fascinating of small romances. 1:45. Must be strolling back. I don't suppose I shall see you again. I'm sorry. I am, really. It's been an amusing experience to have met amongst people of one's own rank and treated quite seriously, too, one's mistress and one's...
He sees a redemption in those who can confront cruelty and who can defeat it. Now, that is, of course, a great liberating moment, that when you see a member of the English aristocracy get it full in the smacker. But I believe that at the heart of these plays is a terrible need and a terrible cry for some kind of compassion, for some kind of grief, for some kind of acknowledgement that there is, at the heart of society, a profound cruelty.
On the day after the opening of A Woman of No Importance, I mean, it should have been a moment of great triumph for him, but instead it was rather undercut when the actor-manager who was putting on and starring in the piece handed over a letter that he'd been given in the street from an unnamed person who claimed that he had one of Wilde's letters that he thought Wilde might want returned. It had been an awkward moment. I mean, it suddenly revealed to him very clearly the dangerous world in which he was now swimming. New legislation had gone through Parliament criminalising not just sodomy, which had been on the statute books since Tudor times, but all sexual contact between males.
There's really a kind of interesting connection, I think, between financial indiscretion and sexual indiscretion. You're in financial trouble because you're being blackmailed because of what you've done. An Ideal Husband, I think, clearly echoes some of those concerns.
The play that becomes An Ideal Husband seems to very much reflect what's happening in his own life. It's a tale of blackmail and intrigue and double lives and scandal. Robert Chiltern is being blackmailed. He's very afraid of what his wife will make of this because his wife is very stern and cold and holds him to a very high moral standard.
More and more when I watch Ideal Husband, I think that Marriage in the Centre is about Oscar and Constance. And he writes the Constance figure, Lady Chiltern, with a huge amount of sympathy and wit and dignity of her own. But you can see it's about a woman who has wholly unreal expectations of who her husband is and what her husband's going to be able to do.
Tell me it is not true. Lie to me.
What this woman said is quite true, but listen.
Come near me, don't touch me. I feel as if you'd soiled me forever. What a mask you've been wearing all these years. A horrible painted mask. To think that I made of a man like you my ideal. The ideal of my life.
There was your mistake. The error all women make. Why can't women love us, faults and all? We all have feet of clay, women as well as men. It is not the perfect, but the imperfect who have need of love. Else, what use is love at all? Women think they are making ideals of men. What you are making are false idols. You made your false idol of me, and I had not the courage to come down and tell you my weaknesses. I was afraid that I would lose your love. As I have lost it now. And now what is there before me but public disgrace? Ruin, terrible shame, the mockery of the world, a lonely, dishonored life, and then a lonely, dishonored death. Let women make no more ideals of men, or they may ruin other lives as completely as you have ruined mine.
Constance wasn't a harsh woman. She didn't hold people to account in the way perhaps that the characters in his play do. But I think he must have been reflecting his frustrations and his belief that he would have been very deeply and desperately letting her down had he admitted what was happening in his real life. It becomes clear really that Constance is very uneasy about Oscar's relationship with Lord Alfred Douglas. How aware she is of the sexual nature of the relationship is unclear, but certainly it has become a bone of contention between husband and wife.
The intensity of Wilde's relationship with Rosie although very exciting, was also exhausting. Partly because Bosie, for all his charms, had not only a difficult but quite an unstable character.
The basis of character is willpower, and my willpower became absolutely subject to yours. Those incessant scenes that seem to be almost physically necessary to you. That dreadful mania you inherit from your father. Your entire lack of any control of your emotions as displayed in your long, resentful moods of sullen silence.
He seems to become very troubled then by the relationship, and in fact he takes really quite drastic action. He writes to Lord Alfred Douglas's mother, who expresses concern for the young man, and he suggests to her in very strong and forceful terms that this young man should be sent abroad for his own good, that he should be removed from the scene. And she acts accordingly, and she arranges for Lord Alfred Douglas to go to Egypt.
Wilde was hugely pleased to have escaped from that intensity, and he did reconnect with Constance, with his family, with other friends. Life seemed to take on a more settled course.
I did not write to you, or take any notice of your telegrams. Finally, you actually telegraphed to my wife, begging her to use her influence to get me to write to you. Our friendship had always been a source of distress to her. She saw how your continual companionship altered me, and not for the better. Still, just as she had always been most gracious and hospitable to you, so she could not bear the idea of my being in any way unkind to any of my friends. At her request, I did communicate with you. I said, time healed every wound, and that for many months to come I would neither write to you nor see you. Next morning I received in Tite Street a telegram of some 10 or 11 pages in length. You made what I must admit was a most pathetic appeal.
Lord Alfred Douglas returned to London, and they had a tearful reunion in the March of 1894. And that was it, really. I mean, all possibility of saving the marriage, I think, ended at that point.
The only way a woman can ever reform a man is by boring him so completely that he loses all possible interest in life.
Wilde's relationship with Bosie is something that generated gossip, and it sort of became more prominent through the sort of parodies.
Punch produces this caricature of two decadent guys, quite clearly and unmistakably Oscar and Lord Alfred Douglas, who are unashamedly heading towards their downfall, behaving in a way that's considered completely unacceptable by society at the time.
Lord Alfred Douglas had long cherished an animus against his own father. He had very bad relationships with his father and relished the chance to antagonise him. The Marquis of Queensberry was a man of extraordinary energy and extraordinary prejudices as well. For Wilde, it was a very unfortunate thing to be drawn into this conflict.
When your father first began to attack me, I saw at once that a terrible danger was looming on the horizon of my troubled days. I told you I would not be the cat's paw between you both in your ancient hatred of each other. He went from restaurant to restaurant looking for me, in order to insult me before the whole world. Between you both, I lost my head.
Wilde was becoming increasingly anxious about what Queensberry might do, whether there would be some public attack or some public denunciation from him. Queensberry had managed to get a ticket for the opening night of his new play, The Importance of Being Earnest, and was intending to make some sort of public demonstration at the performance.
He writes this beautiful, fearless, perfect play at a time his life is utterly falling apart. And you feel almost as if he needs that violent juxtaposition of events. He needs the perfect and the pitiless to be matching each other before he really is going to operate at full force.
He was feeling this intense sense of doom, and he wrote this beautiful souffle of delight and coincidence and madness, and yet managed to invest in it a lot of his own concerns. There is double identity. There are two men who live two separate lives and manage to carry them off. He puts in two astonishingly strong young women who observe the ironclad laws of whim with an incredible strength that the men sort of can't even come close to matching. So it's a sort of nonsense universe, a beautiful nonsense universe, which corresponds to the madness of the world that he was in at that moment as he saw it.
The fact that they did not follow us at once into the house as anyone else would have done seems to show they have some sense of shame left.
They're eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got a cough.
They're looking at us. What effrontery.
They're approaching. That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It's the only thing to do.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask you.
Gwendolen, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have an opportunity of coming to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts, but I intend to crush them. This is not the moment for German scepticism. Your explanations appear to be quite satisfactory.
I am more than content.
Then you think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no.
True. I'd quite forgotten. Which of us should tell them?
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? But we're going to be Christian this afternoon.
How absurd to talk of equality of the sexes. Where matters of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
Gwendolen, what does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to marry Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
You are nothing of the kind. And now as regard Algernon. Algernon.
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
May I ask, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person who's holding the hand of my nephew Algernon in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
This is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know if there's something peculiarly exciting in the air in this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements seems to me above the proper average, which statistics have laid down for our guidance.
On the opening night of Ernest, Alfred Douglas's father, the Marquis of Queensberry, appears with a bouquet of rotting vegetables in order to try and make a scandal, either before or after the play is over. And he is denied admission, and he then goes off and leaves a card at Oscar's club, the famous card on which he says, for Oscar Wilde, posing sodomite, misspelled in his fury.
It seemed certainly a sort of hideous insult, but also a criminal libel. So Wilde thought this, might be the matter that allowed him to seek the redress of the law. Queensberry's idea was that they should use the literary evidence of the picture of Dorian Gray as evidence of his, corrupting influence.
I believe that if Oscar had been simply faced with the instances of homosexuality, gross indecency, he might have withdrawn his case. But the moment they started to attack him for his work, i.e. Dorian Gray, I think the temptation to appear in court and justify his work was just too strong. And that, in a sense, was a sort of booby trap, as the Marquis of Queensberry called it.
The use of Dorian Gray as evidence against Wilde was one of those extraordinary examples of life imitating art, something that Wilde, in other circumstances, would certainly have relished. But he found himself, in a way, being viewed through the prism of his own work.
Dorian Gray had decided that from this day forth he would be good, and the hideous thing that he had hidden away would no longer be a terror to him. In the eyes there was a new look of cunning, and in the mouth the curve wrinkle of the hypocrite. The thing was still loathsome, more loathsome if possible than before, and the blood which had been there since Basil's murder seemed to have crept like a horrible disease over the wrinkled fingers. Was it telling him to confess?
Give myself up and be put to death. Besides, who will believe me? There's not a single trace linking me to Basil's death. Even if I did confess, the whole world would simply say that I was mad. But of course, the one bit of evidence is you. Well, that's easily seen too. Shall I destroy you? You've become like a conscience. My own conscience.
Dorian's own fate at the end of the story is a sort of dramatic act of self-destruction. And of course, the dynamic and drama of Wilde's trials were an extraordinary sort of performance of self-destruction as well, where he thought he was destroying one thing, but ended up destroying himself.
When the servants entered, they found a splendid portrait of their master as they had last seen him, in all the wonder of his exquisite youth and beauty. Lying on the floor was a dead man. He was wrinkled and loathsome of visage. It was not till they had examined the ring that they recognized who it was.
Queensberry's legal team employed a couple of private investigators to look behind some of the rumours about the network of rent boys and young male prostitutes that Wilde had been consorting with. And suddenly what had seemed an extraordinarily weak case was building up into really a damning indictment of Wilde's behaviour.
Oscar Wilde wasn't arrested, charged and imprisoned because of an affair with Lord Alfred Douglas. He was arrested, charged and imprisoned because of relationships with young men, rent boys, and some of them very young indeed, aged 16 when they were giving evidence, so possibly aged younger when the alleged offences took place. And Oscar Wilde was a man then in his 40s. He was a man of some standing. He was a wealthy man. And that's what made the scandal even worse, that somebody of class, position, and achievement was taking advantage of young men. It was a huge scandal.
My wallpaper and I are fighting a duel to the death. One or other of us has got to go.
Reese Witherspoon and a stellar cast in The Importance of Being Earnest, streaming now on BBC iPlayer.